BLUELOCK's characters all possess unique weapons and playstyles specific to each player, but what is each player truly able to do with the weapons in their arsenal? For this video, I'm going to be covering every single player's arsenal that I've already covered in BLUELOCK, at least since my previous compilation. The reason for me making this video is because I know that there are some people who really like these kinds of videos that they can binge all at once, and the other reason is because as you're watching this, I've just recently moved back to college, and I want to give myself some time to adjust to this new schedule, that way I can prepare to make some awesome videos for you guys. So in the spirit of still providing you guys with some content, I've decided to combine all of the previous 10 Arsenal videos that I've made into one giant video that you can just binge. So if you want to look for a specific character, you can do so by going to the description. Because this video is going to be a long one, I'm just going to leave the question of the video at the beginning of the video. So for the question of the video, which of the players in this video is your favorite? Leave me your thoughts down below in the comments section. And without further ado, let's get into the video. I hope you guys enjoy. To begin, I think we should start with discussing Hiori's style of play, that being the deep-lying playmaker. Deep-lying playmakers, also known as holding midfielders, are players who specialize in ball skills such as passing rather than defensive skills like tackling. When this player has the ball, they may attempt longer or more complex passes than other holding players. They may try to set up the tempo of their team's play, retain possession, or build plays through short exchanges, or they may try to pass the ball long to a center forward or a winger, or even pass short to a teammate in the hole, the area between the opponent's defenders and midfielders. With strong vision, ambidexterity, and passing combined with Hiori's level head under pressure, Hiori is the perfect player for being an assist player. Hiori can effortlessly link up with any player, being able to calmly create space and send a perfect pass to them. His passes are usually short build-up passes and final passes in front of the goal, and thus he can be considered a playmaker due to his automatic influence on the field. His combination of vision and ball control led Isagi to refer to him as a technician of stillness. After training with Bastard Munchen in the NEL, Hiori acquired metavision, and he also adopted a counteractive dribbling style that focuses on his left-legged precision and vision, allowing for Hiori to create space faster and more efficiently. But now that we've addressed his playstyle, let's look at Hiori's core weapons. The first of Hiori's core weapons is called Cool-Headed Vision, first displayed in chapter 100 of the manga. Hiori's vision enables him to envision the best pass to make in any given situation. Hiori constantly looks around himself during a game to assess the positions of the players around him, as well as the situation on the field, so he can both receive the ball in the space and pass the ball into space. It is through this vision that he is able to form an almost telepathic link-up play with Rin, trading calm passes and avoiding other players. He also considers the positions of his teammates in and around the goal area before deciding on the right pass. His vision enables him to see plays that his opponents do not expect, such as his combination with Karasu to get around the U20 team. His next core weapon is called Key Passing, first shown in chapter 99 of the manga. Hiori is a very talented passer, being able to accomplish a series of short and long passes even in high pressure situations. Not only are his passes calm and accurate, but his passes also take into account every player's position on the field. Hiori is able to adapt any passing tempo, switching between passing and dribbling in a short series of moves, and send final passes that could lead to goals. His next core skill is called Expert Ball Control, also first shown in chapter 99 of the manga. Hiori has very good ball control, being able to perform advanced techniques with the ball at his feet. He demonstrates this in his ability to do one-touch passes, releasing the ball in the same instant that he receives it. He is also able to perform a trap using the bottom of his foot to receive passes, halting the momentum of the ball entirely and setting up a dead ball for him to pass. He is able to perform techniques that give him the space to set up a pass or even a shot. And his last core skill is called Reflex, first shown in chapter 237 of the manga. After taking Isagi's advice, Hiori starts to move instinctively, passing more audaciously and fluidly. He links up with Isagi so effortlessly because they are thinking on the same wavelength, and he takes it even further by answering Isagi's expectations by drawing 3 defenders to himself while dodging their efforts and sending a final killer pass without even looking at his receiver. And with that, those were all of Hiori's core weapons. However, when looking at his branch techniques, he has quite the number of them. The first is called Crossing, branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 100 of the manga. Hiori is able to whip in fast and accurate crosses from the wing position or from a deeper position in the midfield. These passes have incredible speed and curvature, being able to fool other players as to their destination. Hiori's crosses are so fast that even Isagi initially was unable to actually reach one of those crosses. His next branch skill is called Outside Pass, branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 129 of the manga. Hiori sends an incredibly quick pass using the outside of his foot away from his mark. The speed and precision of this pass enables him to pass it through even the most narrow of spaces between opposing players. And his last branch skill is called Two-Stage Fake Pass. Like the others, also branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 238 of the manga. Hiori, ready to send a final pass into the penalty box, sets to kick the ball as if he is about to shoot, but instead loosely kicks it and lifts the ball with the outside of his foot to maintain control while avoiding a press, and then opens up space so that way he can shoot with his dominant leg and sends a killer shot like pass right in front of the net. Now when looking at evolved skills, Hiori as of right now only has one fully evolved technique. This weapon being Metavision, a combination of cool-headed vision and reflexivity, first shown in chapter 233 of the manga. Metavision is a term used to describe a player's evolved vision that gives them an omnipotent perspective of the field. While using his eyes to constantly take in information from his central and peripheral vision, Hiori constantly collects data on every player that they make, and their positions on the pitch. Hiori uses Metavision as a means to shadow Isagi and his plays. By anticipating his movements and supporting him through their shared vision, Hiori minimizes the time it takes for Isagi to strategize and increases his play speed on the fly, while also playing a key role in his awakening. Now as of the current chapter in the story being 254 as I'm writing this, Hiori has a few chemical reactions. The first is called Crow Tag Team Relay, a combination between Hiori and Karasu, first shown in chapter 129 of the manga. Hiori and Karasu combine their extreme ball keeping and ball control skills to send powerful and quick passes between each other. These passes are so precise that they are able to weave in between the tight openings created by opposing markers. This chemical reaction allows for Hiori to proceed upfield while also opening up the space needed for him to hit a pass with extreme curvature. The next chemical reaction we have is called Technician Resonance, a chemical reaction between Hiori and Rin, first shown in chapter 99 of the manga. Hiori and Rin link up and send quick 1-2 passes that break down an opponent's formation. We see them do this during the third selection. This chemical reaction is also very similar to Isagi and Korona's Planet Hotline. And this final confirmed chemical reaction is called Transcendent Performance, a chemical reaction between Isagi and Hiori, first shown in chapter 238. Isagi and Hiori exploit their fourth dimensional vision while thinking reflexively, allowing for their metavision to be at its highest quality. This results in Isagi and Hiori being able to essentially share the same vision of the best possible outcome, which allows both players to surpass those around them, even those with metavision such as Niko, Aiku, and Kaiser. With this chemical reaction, Hiori and Isagi were able to score the winning goal against Ubers in the previous NEL match. And with that, that is every skill, weapon, and ability within Hiori Yo's player arsenal. To begin, the first thing that we need to address is Sae's playstyle, that being the playmaker. Playmakers are players who control the flow of the team's offensive play and are often involved in passing moves which lead to goals through their vision, technique, ball control, creativity, and passing ability. Sae has been described as having a very cold and calculating playstyle. He creates constant ideal plays for his team using his passing and dribbling, especially controlling the offensive, and fills in any gaps the defense may have by going to the most critical point using his vision. With every play that he makes, Sae aims to crush his opponent quickly and efficiently, destroying them beautifully. While you may consider this to be a core weapon, I believe it falls more in line with his playstyle, that being the fact that Sae possesses professional football technique. Sae is regarded as a genius player in the professional world of football. He plays football in Europe and is considered to be on the level of a pro, but has not fully gone pro only because of the age requirements in Spain at the start of the series. He is regarded as the best player in Japan and can easily fill a stadium with his name alone due to his immense reputation. Even high-level players like Itoshi Rin and Hiori Yo are leagues below him in terms of skill. His skills are some of the most impressive amongst the U20 players in the world, placing him in the new Gen 11. But with that, let's look at Sae's core weapon. Sae's first core weapon is called Perfect Kicking Technique, first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. Sae has the ability to control the intensity, angle, speed, and accuracy of his kicks to an extreme level at any given point in time. Not only is he able to consistently perform complex passes using his superior footwork and technique, but added with his level of skill, he's able to perfectly manipulate the ball to the point his passes are easy to receive, but hard to intercept or block. His next core weapon is called Counter Dribbling, first shown in chapter 139 of the manga. Sae's dribbling is passive in comparison to more proactive dribbling of Bachira and Yukimiya. Rather than actively moving past defenders, Sae will observe the defender's rhythm and motions before flowing past them in a counter dribble. Sae's dribbling is also the best shown dribbling style so far, being able to effortlessly blow past the likes of Isagi and Bachira within one single fluid motion. He is also shown to be able to overcome his brother Rin with relative ease, nutmegging him in each of their engagements. Rin also noted that the tempo in which each of his touches when he dribbles is incredibly fast, bolstered by his experience in Europe. Sae will often prioritize passing the ball to progress up the field, but when he wishes to play seriously, he changes his style to breaking through by himself with his dribbling drastically increasing his own option. When Sae gets serious, his dribbling is good enough to overcome the BLUELOCK 11's entire formation without any assistance. What's interesting about this style is that Sae most likely developed it after his training in Europe with Luna, as we see that Luna uses a counter dribble technique against Lin in the World 5 match. Sae's next core weapon is reflexivity, first shown in chapter 142 of the manga. With his incredible reflexes, Sae is able to take into account all of the conditions on the field and make decisive plays to get the ball down the field and in the hands of the forwards in the best possible way. Sae will determine who has the most heat towards the goal and play the ball to them, meaning he has no bias towards particular strikers. This incredible reflex makes Sae hard to read and stop, as he makes split-second judgments to constantly move the ball and change positions. It is with this reflex that enables Sae to operate on the same wavelength as Shido and exploit his abilities to their fullest potential. And with that, those were all of Sae's core weapons. But now let's take a look at the branch skills that Sae possesses. The first branch skill is called Long Driven Pass, branching off from his perfect kicking technique weapon, first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. Sae sends a long pass that's usually around 40 or 50 meters long to his teammate, and this pass gives the ball enough height and power to avoid interception. We see Sae use this pass to send the ball to Cho at the start of the match. His next branch skill is called the Lob Pass, branching off from his perfect kicking technique weapon, also first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. Also known as a chip, this is a shot in which the ball is kicked from underneath with accuracy but less than maximum force to launch it high into the air in order to pass it over the heads of opponents. And we see Sae do this to pass to Sendo directly in front of the net. His next branch skill is called the Line Drive Shot, branching off from his perfect kicking technique weapon, first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. Sae is able to score with a powerful line drive shot taking from the byline and aimed almost at the opposite side of the goal. This is the shot that defies the expectations of anyone within the box anticipating a pass and can catch the goalkeeper off guard. We see Sae use this to score against Gagamaru at the beginning of the U20 match. Next up, we have Needle Threading Bullet Pass, branching off from his perfect kicking technique weapon, first shown in chapter 127 of the manga. From a set piece, Sae is able to make an incredibly fast pass that borders on being a shot. By using his reflex, he takes all conditions into account in order to pass to a place that the opponent cannot reach, as if threading a needle. Now looking at his counter dribbling weapon, Sae has a good amount of branching weapons off of this skill. The first is called Hyperspeed Scissors Double Touch, first shown in chapter 125 of the manga. Sae performs a scissors feint at incredible speed, making it very hard to track the ball. Sae then knocks the ball from one foot to the other one before using the second foot to knock the ball past his opponent and then break past them. He performed this move at an incredibly fast tempo, leaving Rin very little time to react. Next up, we have the Feinting Marseille turn, first shown in chapter 121 of the manga. Sae pushes the ball with the outside of his foot to bait his opponents to push in one direction. He then stops it before spinning the opposite way, performing a roulette spin to weave between his opponent. This technique works best when there are two defenders, as this technique forces the defenders to get in each other's way while Sae slips by them. And with that, those were all of Sae's branched weapons. Now Sae does have one single evolved skill, that being the Cross Elastico Nutmeg, a combination of perfect kicking technique, counter dribbling, and reflexivity, first shown in chapter 119 of the manga. Sae performs an elastico but by crossing the ball behind his dominant leg before knocking it between his opponent's legs using his non-dominant foot. He first performed this move on his brother Rin when he returned from Spain, but has also performed this move on Rin during the U20 match. And with that, that is all of Sae's evolved techniques. But when looking at chemical reactions, Sae actually has two confirmed chemical reactions. The first is called Ingenious Assault, a combination of Sae and Rin, first shown in chapter 123 of the manga. Sae uses his counter-dribbling style and perfect kicking technique to break through a team, sending a final pass to Rin in order for him to finish off the play. We see them first do this with Rin reacting by instinct to Sae's pass, unlike anyone else on their team. And with this combination, they absolutely solo any opponents that they face. His last chemical reaction is called the Genius and his Demon, a combination of Sae and Shido, first shown in chapter 127 of the manga. Sae replicates his formula with Rin, but instead of Rin, he uses Shido. This is only possible due to Shido's instinctive playstyle, allowing for him to catch up to the passes that Sae sends in a similar way to how Rin as a child was able to catch up to Sae's pass. This chemical reaction was able to single-handedly destroy the BLUELOCK 11 during the U20 match. But with that, those were all of the weapons in Itoshi Sae's arsenal as of right now in the story. To begin, the first thing that we need to address is Kaiser's playstyle, that being the clinical finisher. Clinical finishers are forwards that specialize in their accurate shooting ability. They are clinical in that they need very few opportunities in order to score a goal, being able to strike and place the ball exactly where it will beat the goalkeeper. They're usually easily identifiable by their high goal to shot ratio. Clinical finishers usually play as center forwards, however other attacking players can often be said to be clinical finishers as well. With an omnipotent vision, high football IQ, the fastest kick speed in the world, and a powerful shot to match, Kaiser is the ace scorer for Bayern München. Kaiser is easily able to get into an ideal scoring position, receive any kind of pass, and create space for himself when pressured by the opposition to score effortless and illogical goals. Kaiser is regarded as a genius even amongst the rest of the professionals in the world of football, as he is the main striker for one of the best teams in the world. His skills are highly respected by teammates, opposing clubs, club owners, investors, and even the best striker in the world. His skill and technique is so high that prior to the NEL, all of Bayern München's plays were formulated around Kaiser's scoring ability. His skills are some of the most impressive even amongst the U20 members, placing him in the new generation World 11. But now that we've addressed Kaiser's playstyle, let's take a look at his core weapons. Kaiser's first core weapon is called Rapid Swing Speed, first shown in chapter 156 of the manga. Kaiser naturally possesses the fastest kicking swing in the world, which allows for him to shoot the ball at very fast intervals. There isn't really much else to say on Kaiser's swing speed, except for the fact that unlike other core weapons, such as spatial awareness, dribbling, or a strong physique, no other player in the series has an increased swing speed as a weapon, meaning as we know so far, nobody in the series even comes close to Kaiser in terms of swing speed. His next core weapon is called off-the-ball movements, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. Off-the-ball movements is a term to describe a situation in which the player does not currently have possession of the ball. Kaiser uses these moments to position himself where he can always receive a pass, whether in his opponent's or teammate's blind spot. When marked by a defender, Kaiser always runs towards the course most troublesome to his opposition, and then immediately steps in the opposite direction of their center of gravity to bypass them, finding an open position for himself. Now what you may not realize is that there's no other player in the series who uses off-the-ball movements in the same way as Kaiser, except for Isagi. Even Otoya, whose main weapon is off-the-ball movements and blind spot extortion, doesn't use the skill in the same way that Isagi or Kaiser does. So that's honestly a really cool comparison between Kaiser and Isagi that you may not have noticed. His next core weapon is called Metavision, first shown in chapter 181 of the manga. Metavision is a term used to describe a player's evolved vision that gives him an omnipotent perspective of the field. Using his eyes to constantly take in information from his central and peripheral vision, Kaiser constantly collects data on every player, every play that they make, and their positions on the pitch. Mixed with his high football IQ, Kaiser is able to interpret that data and use it to heighten every move that he makes to unpredictable levels and find opportunities before others can. This ability even escapes the logic of even the most highly advanced football players, such as Isagi in some instances. Mixed with his other abilities, Kaiser is able to dominate the field, creating illogical opportunities born from his vision. Now, Isagi adopted Metavision after observing Kaiser's plays in the Manshan City match, but during that same match, as well as the Ubers match, Kaiser was able to out-metadate Isagi's Metavision. However, in the most recent match against PXG, it's essentially been confirmed that Kaiser's Metavision is now inferior to Isagi's, seeing as Kaiser was unable to predict what Isagi was going to do, which led Isagi to a goal. And before you say anything, yes, this does confirm that Kaiser's Metavision is worse than Isagi's, since he would have been able to use Meta Burst Point in the same way that Isagi can. But because he was unable to predict Isagi, that shows that his Metavision is now worse than our protagonist. Now his final core weapon is known as Predator Eye, also first shown in chapter 181 of the manga. Described as the complete opposite of Metavision, instead of expanding his vision, Kaiser drastically narrows it down in order to score a goal. Kaiser uses Predator Eye to find the smallest gaps for a shot course when aiming and shooting his Kaiser impact. Now because of this description of Kaiser's use of Predator Eye, this confirms that his Predator Eye is different than Baro's. While Baro uses Predator Eye to maintain focus on the goalkeeper in order to mess up their timing, Kaiser appears to use it to focus on the goal itself and identify any weak points that may be available, given the opposing defender's coverage. This is honestly super important to know, as it basically shows that Predator Eye can be used in different ways and could also transition into a development for Baro going into the next arc. Now when referring to evolved skills, Kaiser does have one single evolved skill that has many different variations. That skill would be the Kaiser Impact, a combination of rapid swing speed, Metavision, and Predator Eye, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. With the fastest kick swing speed in the world, Kaiser uses his god-given talent to make a volley shot that is so fast that most people aren't even able to track the ball as it flies into the net. When used in tandem with Metavision and Predator Eye, Kaiser is able to fearlessly score near impossible shots with near extreme accuracy. His shot has the speed and power to pass by the heads of 5 defenders and the goalkeeper with pinpoint accuracy as it flies into the net. Now what you may not know about the Kaiser Impact is that its original scoring formula did not include metavision. We see in the flashback with Ness, Kaiser only uses Predator Eye in their tryouts for Bastard, meaning the original formula did not include metavision at all and was only later adapted into this scoring formula in order to increase its effectiveness. The standard Kaiser Impact is a shot that traditionally focuses on speed and power, as those qualities of his shot tend to keep them very accurate when executing. However, the Kaiser Impact's variations all function slightly differently as opposed to the traditional one. The first variation is known as Kaiser Impact Benches, or Kaiser Impact Bounding, first shown in chapter 220 of the manga. While in midair, Kaiser uses the Kaiser Impact in the form of a bicycle kick. The ball then nutmegs under a defender, bouncing off the ground and landing in the goal without losing any speed. Now the biggest difference between this kick and the standard Kaiser Impact, aside from it being a bicycle kick, is simply the attributes applied to this kick. Due to Kaiser needing the ball to ricochet off the ground, he provides the kick with much more power than he traditionally would. This is what allows the ball to bounce to the degree that it does, landing it in the top corner even after making contact with the ground. When performing this specific Kaiser Impact, Kaiser typically goes to shoot through a defender's legs, as this would make the shot more difficult to block, as it appears to the goalkeeper that the defender is going to block it. The next variation is known as Kaiser Impact Instant Kill Lightning Strike, first shown in chapter 232 of the manga. Kaiser dribbles the ball forward, immediately taking a one-step cut to the side before shooting. This allows for him to temporarily throw off the defender's timing, giving him an opening. The reason it's given the name Lightning Strike is simply due to his movements on the pitch, which when you look at them, appear to be in the shape of a lightning bolt. But now for the new weapon that was most recently revealed in the latest chapter, we have Kaiser Impact Magnus, first shown in chapter 259 of the manga. Unlike the regular Kaiser Impact where he prioritizes kicking the ball straight, Kaiser will put some spin on the ball, making it curve while intentionally using the air valve to guide the ball towards the goal. For this shot to work, Kaiser needs to determine exactly where to strike the ball to up its accuracy to a level on par with the regular Kaiser Impact. During Bastard's match against PXG, Kaiser had attempted this shot, but due to being surrounded by 5 defenders and not putting enough spin on the ball, the shot completely missed the net. Now Kaiser also utilizes a principle known as the Magnus effect in order to shoot effectively. And what's interesting is that he actually explains the principle in this chapter, so if you're curious as to how it works, he explains it pretty well. To summarize what he said, by using air pressure and an adjusted kicking point, Kaiser can add curve to the Kaiser Impact while maintaining the same velocity and power. Now Kaiser has 2 other Kaiser Impact variations that aren't coined in the official wiki. The first of the 2 is Kaiser Impact Point, first shown in chapter 250 of the manga. Now the reason that this style is technically not registered as a unique shooting style for the Kaiser Impact is because we never actually get to see it be performed as Rin intervened. From what we see, Point appears to be similar to Lightning Strike. However, as opposed to taking a step to the side, he simply moves the ball to the side of 2 defenders before striking it. Now the difference is very slight, but because of how similar they are, and because we didn't actually get to see the kick performed, that may be the reason why it's not classified as a unique shooting style. Now there is another variation that has been coined as well, and that was shown during the Barcha match, which I'm going to be calling Kaiser Impact Volley, first shown in chapter 162 of the manga. Now what's unique about this shot is that aside from bounding, this is the only time we see Kaiser use the Kaiser Impact without landing on the ground. My reasoning for this being counted as a unique variation is due to the fact that aside from now not being on the ground, Kaiser uses his entire body in his swing here, producing a Kaiser Impact with more speed than his standard one. But that is all of the abilities and weapons in Kaiser's arsenal as of right now in the story. Now to begin, we need to address Kunigami's playstyle, that being the clinical finisher. Clinical finishers are forwards who specialize in their accurate shooting ability. They are clinical in the sense that they need very few opportunities to score a goal, to be able to strike and place the ball exactly to where it needs to be in order to beat the goalkeeper. Their high goal-to-shot ratio usually identifies them as clinical strikers. Clinical strikers usually play as center forwards, though other attacking players can often be said to be clinical finishers. Now after emerging from the wildcard, Kunigami's physical abilities and his shooting abilities have skyrocketed since his appearance in the second selection. His ability to finish while within the box is now unquestionable, as he's able to now dribble and shoot with both feet. And after emerging from the wildcard, Kunigami now aims to score goals on his own using his high-level physique and ambidexterity. But with that, let's take a look at Kunigami's core weapons. Now Kunigami's first core weapon is known as Superior Physicality, first revealed in chapter 5 of the manga, or episode 3 of the anime. Kunigami is one of the handful of forwards in BLUELOCK who has an extraordinarily strong and muscular physique, and he uses this to his advantage when driving the ball down the field or marking players to defend. After returning from the wildcard and becoming a regular on Bastard Munchen for the NEL, Kunigami is now more noticeably able to leverage his physique by trapping the ball mid-air with his chest between two defenders and pushing past those same defenders while holding them back so he could set up his own shot. Kunigami also has better control of his center and upper body reflexes, as we've seen he was able to keep up with Bachata's improved dribbling ability for a few moments during the Barca match. Kunigami's physique, in my opinion, is the best in Blue Lock, beating out both Barō and Tokimitsu, both of them who have very strong physiques, and because of his physique, that is what I believe makes him such an incredibly strong forward. But what's interesting is that his physique is being utilized incredibly well on the defensive side of the game during the PSG match. We see him use this to contain Shido, and he's doing it pretty damn well, especially when you consider that Shido himself is a super deadly player if left alone. Kunigami's next core weapon is called finesse shooting, first shown in chapter 2 of the manga or episode 1 of the anime. Kunigami has a near pinpoint power shot specifically for his left leg that he uses to score incredibly powerful shots, with his standard range for shooting being within 28 meters of the goal. Now this weapon has been shown to be incredibly useful, not simply for Kunigami, but also for whatever team that he plays on, as we see in the match for Team X, as well as the match against Barca in the NEL, that Kunigami's left leg was the key aspect of the game that allowed for his team to show results. His next core skill is called ambidexterity, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. After having competed in the wildcard path, Kunigami exhibits the ability to use both of his feet to score goals. He admits to Isagi that he was forced to develop the skill in order to survive in the wildcard, but was only able to do it in a brief period of time due to his physical attributes. Though he can use both feet to shoot and to dribble, Kunigami's left side is still by far more powerful and efficient, though he has chosen so far to use his right for almost all of his shots in the NEL. With Kunigami's ambidexterity, it's very unlikely that we're going to be seeing any more of it, simply because it's more used for a scoring aspect, and because Kunigami is now marking Shido, and will most likely be marking Shido for the rest of the game, I really don't see Kunigami being able to utilize his ambidexterity to its full potential, at least during this game. With that, those were all of Kunigami's core weapons, but now let's take a look at some branch techniques that come off of those core weapons. The first is called wildcard man marking, branching off from his superior physicality weapon, first shown in chapter 254 of the manga. Kunigami is able to effectively man-mark another player, using his physicality and presence to prevent them from playing the way that they would want to. After his wildcard training improved his physique even further, Kunigami is able to completely shut down someone as physically capable as Shido, preventing him from even touching the ball, while in their last match, Kunigami was unable to understand nor stop Shido at all. This just goes to show you the intense development that Kunigami had to endure during the wildcard program. Considering the wildcard program, he was only in there for about a month, and now he's on the level of someone like Shido. That is insane development. I gotta say, whatever ego's juicing you with, bro, keep fucking going. His next technique is called knuckle shot, branching off from his finesse shooting weapon, first shown in chapter 29 of the manga or episode 9 of the anime. Kunigami shoots with such intense force that he actually kills the spin of the ball, allowing for the shot to curve. We see this technique performed from around 40 meters away from the goal, which is outside of his standard range for shooting. Now this skill was first used and unfortunately has only been seen being used against Team V in the first selection. However, with his wildcard training, it stands to reason that Kunigami would be able to produce those kinds of kicks more frequently, just given the fact that he produces so much force with each kick, which would eliminate the spin. The next technique is called charging power shot, branching off from his finesse shooting weapon, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. When in possession of the ball and holding off two defenders, Kunigami is able to push past those defenders while opening up space for himself and shooting a high-powered shot with his right foot. We see Kunigami first use this during the matchup against Barca, where he was able to steamroll through Barca's defenders and take a shot that nearly scored. Now those were all of the branch techniques that Kunigami currently possesses. However, he does have one evolved skill in his arsenal that I've yet to mention. That skill being rush volley, a combination of finesse shooting and superior physicality, first shown in chapter 185 of the manga. Kunigami jumps using his physical strength and performs a volley shot while in the air. The original shot was performed by Isagi after he took a shot while being pressured by Kaiser, resulting in the angle of the ball going off course. Kunigami then instinctively threw himself into the path of the shot and jumped to send a volley shot into the net. Now this goal here is actually what makes people believe that Kunigami is a goal poacher. But to me that doesn't make a lot of sense, considering when you look at the manga panels here, the shot was legitimately going off course, and without Kunigami being there to, hit it, the ball wouldn't have scored. Well, I would even argue that players like Barō and Shido are more goal poachers than Kunigami ever could be. But with that, those were all of the weapons and skills in Rensuke Kunigami's arsenal as of right now in the story. Now to begin, the first thing that we need to address is Niko's playstyle, that being the ball-winning center back. A ball-winning defender typically relies on their intelligence as opposed to their brawn. Where a stopper seeks to be involved in duels, a ball-winning defender will attempt to eliminate the need for such situations by stopping the ball at its source. That means reading the game well to make interceptions. Niko's vision and his ability to read the entire state of the field makes him a very formidable defender. He can take in most parameters of the field as well as factors like the style of pass and off-the-ball movements of other players to determine where the greatest danger is and exterminate it. Niko, as one of the most intelligent players in BLUELOCK, has a spatial awareness that in some instances can rival Isagi's and can keep up with the combined forces of Sae and Shido even if at the cost of an injury. But now that we've addressed his playstyle, let's take a look at his weapons. Now Niko's player evolution is not like that of Kunigami or Isagi, but is more like Bachira's, whose development allows for both of those characters to improve one skill as opposed to assimilating new ones. Now his stage 1 weapon is called Spatial Awareness, first shown in chapter 10 of the manga or episode 4 of the anime. Niko analyzes the entire field, taking account of both his allies and opponents' weapons, positions, and actions to be able to determine the next play and respond accordingly. Niko's ability to read can rival or even surpass that of Isagi, who himself is one of the most tactically aware players in BLUELOCK. Isagi himself has been impressed with the sheer scope of Niko's vision and ability to read the state of play. With his tactical ability, Niko organized team-wise defensive playstyle as well as their offensive strategy, acting as the core of the team, breaking up the opponent's attacks, and initiating his own team's attacks. Niko has also demonstrated that he has the ability to read the flight path of a pass in order to determine the best way to intercept it. We see Niko be able to use his eyes and brain to construct team-wise game style in the first selection, and in the U20 match, we see him be able to catch someone like Sendo off guard, who I would argue during that match was a better player than Niko. The second stage of his main weapon is called Watchtower Soccer, first shown in chapter 119 of the manga. By focusing his vision not on the player who has the ball, but rather the players around them, Niko is able to act as a watchtower in the defensive line, determining the most dangerous threat to his team's goal and likely the path that they will take. And after determining what path they're going to take, he can move in to exterminate the threat. With this style of defending, Niko has managed to overcome the assault of Sae Itoshi, intercepting his pass twice, first to Sendo and second to Shido, something that nobody else but Rin has been able to do. This second stage of Watchtower Soccer is, in my opinion, what led Niko to develop Metavision. For Metavision to work, you need to rotate your head while using your peripheral vision to input as much data as possible, minimizing your blind spot. But that's only the case for someone who's playing in the forward position or the midfielder position. With Niko being a defender, all the info he needs to input is directly in front of him, limiting the requirement of peripheral input and head rotation. This, unironically, is also what limits his metavision now, as he's conditioned to not rotate his head, which causes him to input less information than someone like Isagi would. And the final stage of his weapon, like I just mentioned previously, is metavision, first shown in chapter 217 of the manga. Using his eyes to constantly take in information from his central and peripheral vision, Niko constantly collects data on every player, every play that they make, and the positions on the field. During the NEL match against Bayern München, Niko was able to awaken this ability, allowing for him to scan the entire field at an alarmingly fast rate. The reason this is labeled as incomplete metavision is because he isn't including the head rotation or peripheral input that normal metavision users have to do. The result of this was him focusing so much on stealing the ball from Kunigami that he failed to notice Yoichi sneaking up on him from his blind spot. Now because Niko's metavision is incomplete, it can be easily outperformed by players like Hiori, Kaiser, and Isagi. Now Niko has a couple confirmed chemical reactions with other players in the series. The first is called Last Resort Instant Kill Counter, a chemical reaction of Niko and Team Y, first shown in chapter 12 of the manga or episode 5 of the anime. Last Resort Instant Kill Counter is a strategy that Niko created during the first selection in order to have a near perfect chance at attaining a victory. Step 1 is getting Team Y a goal, which occurs with Team Y supporting Okawa, the apparent best scorer on Team Y. After scoring a goal, step 2 is to stall out the time by passing the ball around the pitch. Now assuming this works, they are guaranteed a victory after step 2, however in the instance that the opposing team can score a goal against them, then step 3 happens. Step 3 is where all 11 players push onto the offensive, resulting in a frontal assault that leaves the other team unable to stop them. Now the reason this failed in the main series is because Niko chose to pass at the last moment instead of finishing off the play himself, and if he chose to finish the play off himself, he would have won the game for Team Y over Team Z. However, because he chose to pass, that gave Isagi enough time to intercept Niko's pass due to him being able to process the plan that they had concocted when running back to defend. Now, the next chemical reaction actually takes place outside of the main series, and that chemical reaction is called Big Soccer Data, a chemical reaction between Niko, Haragi, and Zantetsu, first shown in chapter 20 of the episode Nagi's Side Story. This chemical reaction was created by Haragi, where Niko, Zantetsu, and Haragi all broke down the playstyles and personalities of their opponents to create countermeasures in order to stop the opponents from having their ideal result. An example of this chemical reaction in play is where Zantetsu and Niko pressured Chigiri in order to eliminate the possibility of a speed battle, allowing for Haragi to pick up the loose ball. The last chemical reaction is called Predator Empire, a combination of Niko and the Uber's team first shown in chapter 227 of the manga. Their empire is a result of Burū breaking free from the traditional attacking pattern that Snuffy presented him with, where he utilizes the weapons of other players, such as Lorenzo, Niko, and Aiku, to allow for him to score a goal. In this chemical reaction, Niko has been shown to be used to snatch up loose balls or receive passes, using his metavision to move the ball downfield. We also see this combination be used against Manshan City, which nearly led to Burū scoring the winning goal, if not for Chigity's speed intercepting his shot. And with that, those were all of the weapons and abilities in Ikki Niko's arsenal as of right now in the story. So to begin, the first thing that we need to address is Kenyu Yukimiya's playstyle, that being the mobile striker. Mobile strikers are strikers that benefit from the space behind the opposing defensive line. The mobile striker is often a highly technical and dynamic player who distinguishes himself in one-on-one duels with the last defender or goalkeeper. A mobile striker is often used to exploit fast transition phases from defense to offense. Yukimiya's reputation as the one-on-one emperor makes it nearly impossible to defeat him in a situation where he is in possession of the ball. His street dribbling style revolves around him shifting his opponent's center of gravity in order to allow him to drag the ball around them before rushing past them with the use of his incredible speed. But now with us addressing Yukimiya's playstyle, let's take a look at some of his core weapons. Yukimiya's first core weapon is called Immense Speed, first shown in chapter 105 of the manga. Yukimiya has immense speed, being able to get past the speedster defender Neru, as well as beat him in the Basamunchen obstacle course. Additionally, Yukimiya crossed from one side of the field to the other to defend against Chigity before he could reach his golden zone. This feat is incredibly impressive when you consider the fact that Chigity can run a 50-meter sprint in 5.77 seconds, and that was during the first selection. So even after his training with Prince, Yukimiya was able to run from one side of the pitch to the other to intercept Chigity before he reached his golden zone. His next core weapon is called Emperor Dribbling, first shown in chapter 105 of the manga. Yukimiya's core style involves bringing a confrontation to the individual level, where he can use his rigid dribbling to get past his opponents in succession. He's shown that he can overcome Rin and Shido using this dribbling style, proclaiming that in a 1v1, he is the strongest player in Japan. Ryo mentioned that Yukimiya was a very hardcore infighter, with his physique and speed being the key to his dribbling ability. It's suggested that because of this, within BLUELOCK, there's not a single person who can beat him in a one-on-one. However, this style can be countered by simply bringing the encounter back to a 2-on-1 situation, as shown when Rin and Igaguri were able to overcome Yukimiya's dribbling. Now, while Yukimiya was crowned as the one-on-one emperor, it has been shown that in the later stages of the manga, that title does not hold exactly true anymore. During the match against Manshan City, it was shown that Ryo was actually able to stop Yukimiya in a one-on-one. So honestly, it's kind of unknown whether or not this title holds true at this point in the series, especially when players like Burū and Rin exist. Now his last skill is called Gyro Shot, just like the other skills, first being shown in chapter 105 of the manga. The Gyro Shot is a shot with incredible spin, allowing for it to drop sharply in midair while moving to the outside of the net. When using this shot in the third selection, it would have scored if not for Nagi trapping it and then scoring himself. What makes the gyro shot different than your traditional curve shot like what Rin can produce is that the ball itself is actually rotating as opposed to the ball's arc. Providing rotation to the ball itself does allow for it to curve, however the ball's curvature is very sudden and drastic as opposed to something like Rin's Trivela shot. Now Yukimiya does have a few branch skills that specifically branch off from his Emperor dribbling style. The first being Drag Scissors, branching off from his Emperor dribbling style, first shown in chapter 105 of the manga. Yukimiya performs a scissors feint to shift his opponent's center of gravity before using his explosive speed to break past them. We see him use this move against Rin in the third selection, which allowed for him to easily defeat the top player in BLUELOCK. The other skill branching off from his Emperor dribbling style is called Laboba, first shown in chapter 114 of the manga. Yukimiya creates a feint that uses the sole of his foot. He pulls the ball backwards before tapping it to the side and rushing in the same direction as the ball. Now this feint is designed to break past defensive players, however it's very ineffective against people with explosive acceleration or fast reaction times. This is due to them being able to regain ground on Yukimiya in the instance that they do fall for the feint. Now when looking at evolved techniques, Yukimiya actually does have a couple. This first skill is called Flow State, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. Flow, as described by Ego, is the state of total immersion or being in the zone. It is the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. Now in this series, we've seen Yukimiya enter his flow state a total of 3 separate times. The first was in the U20 match, where he resorted to a new dribbling style, enabling him to break through the U20 defense and launch a gyro shot, quickly changing his aim at the last second. The other 2 times were against Manshan City, where his flow state allowed for him to not only dribble through 5 professional club defenders, but also awaken a new shooting technique. Then the next evolved technique is called street dribbling, a combination of flow state and emperor dribbling, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. In contrast to his usual one-on-one style, when Yukimiya accesses his flow state, he can dribble with more precise movements, cutting into spaces between both friend and foe. Through analysis and focus, Yukimiya can determine the best route to take in order to penetrate the defense, yet still adapt his decision making, running through people as if dodging obstacles in the street. The reason I say natural is because it's only truly possible to view these routes through something like metavision, which enhances one's vision and brain function to allow them to view these courses. However, Yukimiya, who does not have metavision, is able to view these routes through the use of his flow state. He does have one new skill along with his street dribbling style, known as Las Croqueta, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. Las Croqueta is a feint that knocks the ball one way with one foot and then the other way with the other foot. Yukimiya uses these feints in order to position himself behind other players, be them enemy or ally. He uses these people as shields to give himself distance between a defender, making it easier for him to move and play. We see him use this technique against Neru in the U20 match, which greatly helped, considering Yukimiya was previously unable to combat Neru's speed without assistance from another player like Isagi. Now his last evolved technique is called Sword Screw, a combination of gyro shot and flow state, first shown in chapter 202 of the manga. Inspired by Chris Prince's knuckle shot, this shot has an increased oblique rotation that drops down further. This causes the ball to shoot right into the net when it makes contact with the ground. Now traditionally, Yukimiya's gyro shot provides the ball with a horizontal rotation, allowing for it to drastically curve left or right at a very sudden moment. However, this shot provides the ball with a vertical rotation, causing it to drop towards the ground before shooting directly into the top corner after making contact. Now this move, while being very impressive, is not completely foolproof, as someone with metavision is able to predict the event that this shot will occur in. We see this happen with Ryo in the Manshan City match, however he was unable to stop it due to him not being aware as to how drastic the rotation on the ball was. This could also allude to the fact that Yukimiya's new shooting style has some kind of tell to it as opposed to the traditional gyro shot. However, the best we can assume is the chipping motion that Yukimiya does when using the shooting technique. Now with Yukimiya being labeled as the one-on-one emperor, he doesn't have many chemical reactions. However, he does have one single confirmed chemical reaction in the series, that being Fallen Decoy, a chemical reaction between Yukimiya and Isagi, first shown in chapter 117 of the manga, and then again shown in chapter 202 of the manga. There are 2 variations on this chemical reaction, however they have one single similarity, that being that Isagi is used as a decoy for Yukimiya to take a shot towards the net. In the 2 instances that this chemical reaction was used, Isagi baited the most dangerous player in the situation towards himself, allowing for Yukimiya to take a near uncontested shot. In the U20 match, Isagi baits Neru towards himself, and in the Manshan City match, Isagi baits Kaiser, giving Yukimiya the opportunity to shoot in both situations. And with that, those were all of the abilities and skills in Yukimiya's arsenal as of right now in the story. Now to begin, the first thing that we need to address is Oliver Aiku's playstyle, that being the libero. The libero or sweeper is a more versatile type of defender that sweeps up the ball if the opponent manages to break the defensive line. Their position is more fluid than other defenders who mark their designated opponents. The sweeper's ability to read the game is even more vital than for a center back. They are also usually confident on the ball and possess good passing and vision, as they are often responsible for starting plays from the back line. The key to the Japan's U20 defense is Aiku being more versatile than the other defenders and being able to sweep up the ball or shut down the opposing offense together with an ironclad defense. Aiku is already considered to be one of Japan's brightest talents, being the captain of the U20 team as well as already having an offer to play for an unspecified Italian professional club in the Series A. A testament to his professional technique is the fact he went from a respected center forward to a talented defender almost seamlessly. When looking at the original Japan U20 team, Aiku is easily its best player. But now that we've addressed Aiku's playstyle, let's take a look at some of his core weapons. Aiku's first core weapon is known as Dominant Physicality, first shown in chapter 113 of the manga. Aiku has an incredible physique, which enables him to perform high-level plays without issue. His strength was first demonstrated when he physically subdued Shido, a notoriously powerful player, without any kind of issue. His strength is also demonstrated in his jumping ability, being able to reach great heights to intercept the pass to Isagi from Bachira. In addition to this, Aiku moves across the pitch with incredible speed, being able to sweep up any loose balls and cover defensive holes left by the team, as well as retreat to cover the center when needed. The people like to argue who would win in the fight between Shido and Aiku, and if we're talking about at the point of the U20 match, it's easily Aiku.
But Aiku surprised Shido, that's why he lost.
Actually, no. If you check the panels, yes, Aiku surprised Shido when he intercepted his assault on Sendo, but Shido eventually swung twice while Aiku was holding him before getting slammed. And if we know anything about Shido, we know how naturally flexible he is given his insane shooting ability. So to say that Shido lost to Aiku because he was surprised is not only a lie, but gives feats against Shido as to why he would beat Aiku in a fight. Aiku's next core weapon is spatial awareness, first shown in chapter 114 of the manga. Aiku has an incredibly large field of vision, being able to take into account the conditions of every player in front of him. Isagi noted that Aiku was not specifically marking him, but he was able to intercept a pass to him because he was able to judge Isagi's speed as well as the source of the pass and the positions of the other players. This wide field of vision enables him to detect any threats to the U20 goal and react instantly, predicting any moves or surprise plays. We see this ability not only be used to stop long overhead passes, but also predict the plays of even the most technical players, such as Rin. However, his base skill of spatial awareness does not allow him to predict the likes of Bachira when Bachira enters flow, and Aiku's flow state combined with metavision leaves him unable to stop even Rin once he enters flow. His next core weapon is called Reflex, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. On top of his spatial awareness, Aiku also has the reflex to immediately determine where the greatest threat to the goal is, and the physical ability to go there without hesitation. The combination of this reflex and spatial awareness is what makes Aiku such an effective defender, as he not only sees all the positions of every player at once, but he also immediately moves to intercept the ball. This reflex allows for him to move quicker than even the most technical players, and even some genius level players like Nagi. Now that was all of Aiku's core weapons, and when looking at his branched weapons, Aiku really doesn't have a lot that aren't associated with his flow state. However, he does have one. That technique is called World Serpent Interception, branching off from his dominant physicality, first shown in chapter 113 of the manga. Aiku's physique allows for him to reach insane heights, even being able to match the height of Bachira's pass as it begins to descend. This move is intended to snuff out any kind of fast-paced link-up play that the other teammates were unable to stop. Another side effect of restarting the game's flow is to allow your teammates to adjust to this faster-paced game. Now, when we look at evolved skills, Aiku does have several. The first that we need to address, however, is flow state, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. Flow, as described by Ego, is the state of total immersion or being in the zone. It is the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. Aiku managed to enter his flow state during the match against BLUELOCK in response to Yukimiya's attack in the second half. Normally, he reacts to plays as he sees them happening. While in flow, however, he can see and even feel the most critical points in the team's defense, enabling him to move ahead of the game and cover those weak areas. This state also improves Aiku's one-on-one defending, being able to completely shut down a player's offense by reading their every possibility and shutting down all of their options like he did against Rin. However, when faced with a skill level that's above his own understanding, his flow state can't even help him here and gets completely shut down. We see this occur against Rin after he enters flow, where Aiku had a 0% chance of stopping him without the assistance of Shido, who was also in flow, meaning at this point in the series, Aiku might have the worst flow state ever shown. His next evolved skill is called Total Defense, a combination of spatial awareness, reflex, and dominant physicality, first shown in chapter 114 of the manga. By combining all three of these weapons, Aiku is able to predict, react to, and intercept any ball played in the defensive third, acting as a critical safeguard in the U20's defensive lineup. Now, there isn't much else to say on this technique. However, we have seen Aiku use this technique when the other defenders get overwhelmed, as this limits his opponent's actions, resulting in a near 100% chance of stealing the ball. The next skill is called Guardian's Launch, a combination of dominant physicality and flow state, first shown in chapter 133 of the manga. Aiku's physical abilities increase drastically once he is in flow, allowing for him to launch even higher than previously possible, being able to jump higher than someone like Nagi, even after he had jumped first. This ability can also be used horizontally, as we see Aiku launch from one side of the net to the other in mere moments to intercept Yukimiya's adjusted gyro shot. His next evolved technique is called Incomplete Metavision, a combination of spatial awareness and flow state, first shown in chapter 134 of the manga. Now, metavision is a term used to describe a player's evolved vision that gives him an omnipotent perspective of the pitch. By using his eyes to constantly take in information from his central and peripheral vision, Aiku constantly collects data on every player, every play that they make, and their positions on the field. Now, Aiku's metavision isn't like Isagi's, Kaiser's, or even Hiori's, but is more like Niko's. Now, this is because both Niko and Aiku don't have a full grasp on this ability yet, which is what makes it incomplete. Now, will they probably come to understand this ability eventually? Yeah, they will. But will it be anytime soon? No, probably not. And his last evolved technique is called Final Wall Blockade, a combination of dominant physicality, metavision, and flow state, first shown in chapter 134 of the manga. Aiku when in flow state is faster and stronger than he traditionally is. He uses this immense speed and strength to ram his body between his opponent and the ball, effectively stuffing them and gaining possession. We see him do this against Rin in the U20 match, where he was able to easily analyze Rin's movements and steal the ball. With that, those were all of the weapons in Oliver Aiku's arsenal as of right now in the story, but let's take a look at some of his confirmed chemical reactions. The first is called Iron Wall Quartet, a chemical reaction between Aiku, Yue, Neru, and Dorai, first shown in chapter 114 of the manga. Iron Wall Quartet is a chemical reaction centered around total defense within the U20 team. Utilizing a man-marking style, each U20 defender except for Aiku will select a specific striker to man-mark and neutralize. After identifying the most dangerous striker or the most opportune moment, Aiku will then intervene and create a 2-on-1 situation, allowing for a stealing of the ball or a lockdown of the defense. The next chemical reaction is called the Double Press, a combination of Aiku and Shido, first shown in chapter 145 of the manga. And the double press is the most common chemical reaction in the series, where two players commit to one player to create a 2-on-1 situation in an attempt to force this other player to pass the ball or steal the ball to gain possession. Shido and Aiku both work together in this instance to stop Rin once he enters this flow state, and while being unable to stop Rin from shooting, they were able to stop Rin from scoring. And the final chemical reaction is called Predator Empire, a chemical reaction between Burū, Aiku, and the rest of the Uber's team, first shown in chapter 227 of the manga. Predator Empire is a result of Burū breaking free from a traditional attacking pattern where he utilizes the weapons of other players, such as Lorenzo, Niko, and Aiku, to allow for him to score a goal. Aiku has been shown to pressure opponents using his strong physique who happen to steal the ball in order to regain possession to continue the attack. While this combination was used against Manshine City, we did not actually get to see Aiku participate in this chemical reaction. And with that, those were all of the abilities, weapons, and chemical reactions in Oliver Aiku's playstyle as of right now in the story. The first thing that we need to address is Ness's playstyle, that being the dribbler. Dribblers are players known for their close ball control that is used to get past defenders by sudden change of direction and acceleration, sometimes combined with great pace. The skill is used to create opportunities for other attackers, or to score themselves, having broken through the opposition's defense using what is sometimes referred to as trickery. As the center midfielder and the heart of Bayern München, Ness's ability to dribble and pass are heavily relied on, as all of Kaiser's shots are started with Ness, and in turn, every Bayern München play. Now, despite his archetype being the dribbler, we actually haven't seen Ness dribble as much as you may think. There's maybe 4 or 5 cases since Ness's introduction that we've actually seen him dribble. But when referring to Ness's dribbling style, it's actually pretty unique. While similar to Bachida's elastic dribbling, Ness's specialized dribbling style relies heavily on his flexible ankles. Because he has such supreme control over his ankles, he's able to maintain possession of the ball while making quick, sharp turns that trick his opponents. But now that we've addressed his playstyle, let's take a look at some of his core weapons. Ness's main weapon, as we just mentioned, is his flexible dribbling, first revealed in chapter 162 of the manga. Ness's dribbling style is a mix of his hyper-rational technique and his flexible ankles. He uses his flexibility to easily feint the ball or switch directions away from the opponent in order to perform smooth and efficient plays with no wasted movements. Isagi was able to identify that through the use of his dribbling, Ness is able to easily break past lone defenders while maintaining a perfect distance for when a pass is needed. Another benefit to his flexible ankles is that he's easily able to snatch balls out of the air, as seen with him stealing possession from Bachida after his rainbow flick. His next core weapon is called key passing, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. Now, along with his dribbling, Ness is also a very efficient passer. As the key passer for the team, his passes are always accurate and efficient, only serving to help the forward score. Through his unique passes, he allows Kaiser to get into the easiest position to score using the Kaiser impact. These two core weapons are what makes him the foundation for Bayern München's offensive plays, designating him as the club's beating heart. Now, when addressing Ness's passing ability, there are a few techniques that branch off of this core weapon. The first being Skyborn Daisy Cutter, branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 159 of the manga. The high-speed Daisy Cutter is a super clean pass between two defenders that hugs the ground before slowly rising into the air. According to Isagi's analysis, this pass is so perfect that it doesn't affect the speed of the player meant to receive it. This isn't actually the first time we've seen this technique be used in the series, as we see Bachida do something similar with Aryu in the second selection. We've seen Ness use this pass when sending the ball over to Grimm in the match against Barca. His next passing technique is called Illusion Cross, branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 162 of the manga. The Illusion Cross is a pass that's actually unique, not specifically because of what Ness does to the pass, but because of what the receivers do to the pass. The Illusion Cross is supported by the numerous possible receivers all running around in what appears to be a very ineffective and random style. But in actuality, they are simply overlapping several passing courses, allowing for Ness to select the best passing course that would lead to the most beneficial result. His usual main target being Kaiser, who remains in the blind spots of several players, waiting to receive the pass the moment that he steps outside of them. And the final unique passing technique that we see from Ness is called the Shield Flick, branching off from his key passing weapon, first shown in chapter 217 of the manga. The shield flick was a passing technique developed to simply assist Kaiser in the Ubers match while eliminating Lorenzo as a possible defender. We see that Ness uses his body to shield the ball from Lorenzo and uses his flexible ankles to keep the ball just outside of Lorenzo's stealing range. He then chips the ball with the back of his heel, sending it flying into the air, where Kaiser can then chase after it to perform the Kaiser impact. Now this technique would have worked if not for audio being used on Uber's defense to exterminate lobbed passes. Now when referring to chemical reactions, Ness does have a few, however they all consist of generally the same characters. His first is called Total Execution, a chemical reaction between himself, Kaiser, and the rest of Bastard München, first shown in chapter 162 of the manga. Total Execution is the traditional style of play that Bastard München performed prior to Blue Lock taking over. This chemical reaction was attempted in chapter 159 with the inclusion of Kunigami, however it resulted in failure due to Kunigami's refusal to pass to Kaiser. This chemical reaction was attempted again and was successful in chapter 162, which resulted in Kaiser scoring. His next confirmed chemical reaction is called Tri-Raid, a chemical reaction between Ness, Kaiser, and Grimm, first shown in chapter 174 of the manga. While this chemical reaction is very similar to Total Execution, this variation simply has less people participating as the Blue Lock members began to take over Bastard München. This resulted in the plays becoming less efficient, simply because Blue Lock's faction, spearheaded by Isagi, was attempting to intervene to make plays for themselves. And the final confirmed chemical reaction shown in the series is called Magician's Raid, a chemical reaction of Kaiser and Ness, first shown in chapter 259 of the manga. Due to the lack of support, Ness and Kaiser both become more desperate, stealing passes in a similar way to Isagi in the Barca match. The issue with this chemical reaction is that due to their limiting numbers, they are easily overwhelmed and have difficulties pulling off the more advanced plays, such as the Magnus shot. As opposed to his shot thanks to Kiora, Kaiser was unable to score using the Magnus shot off of Ness's pass due to the pressure placed upon him by the other defenders. And with that, those are all of the weapons, abilities, and chemical reactions within Alexis Ness's playstyle as of right now in the story. To begin, the first thing that we need to address is Kurona's playstyle, that being the wingback. Wingbacks are often more adventurous than fullbacks and are expected to provide width, especially in teams without wingers. A wingback needs to be of exceptional stamina, be able to provide crosses upfield, and defend effectively against opponents' attacks down the flanks. Kurona has been shown participating on Bastard München's team as a wingback who moves up the field, assisting Isagi with quick 1-2 passes. He typically plays as a post player who can be easily utilized to exchange possession in the instance that Isagi gets pressured. But now that we've addressed his playstyle, let's take a look at his weapons. Kurona has two core weapons in his arsenal, the first being called Rush, first shown in chapter 177 of the manga. Kurona is exceptionally fast, using his speed to be a vital asset to whichever player he aligns himself with. He's been seen being used to catch up to high-speed passes sent by Isagi, as well as marking the faster players on the field, such as Chigiri. His next core weapon is called Positioning, also first shown in chapter 177 of the manga. Kurona can instantly sense a position that is both unfavorable for the enemy and advantageous for the allies, staying at the perfect distance to receive passes. Combined with his agility and his alliance with Isagi, there are very few players who have been able to stop him. Now there is only one evolved skill that Kurona has in his arsenal, that being known as Sharp Turning, a combination of Rush and Positioning, also first shown in chapter 177 of the manga. Sharp Turning allows Kurona to maintain top speed while making incredibly sharp cuts. These cuts are the main secret to Planet Hotline, as Kurona can make these turns that allow him to be in a perfect location to receive the ball. Before getting into his confirmed chemical reactions, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this. Now Kurona does have a few confirmed chemical reactions that more or less branch off from an original one. The first, being the most popular, is known as Planet Hotline, a chemical reaction between Kurona and Isagi, first shown in chapter 177 of the manga. Planet Hotline is a chemical reaction rooted in 1-2 passes with Isagi. We see this duo use these 1-2 passes to break through both Manshan City and Ubers in their respective matches. Thanks to Isagi and Kurona's highly skilled positioning along with Kurona's speed, they're able to exchange possession of the ball while the other player moves into a good location to receive a pass. Prior to Awakening Metavision, this chemical reaction was able to dominate the right side of the field, breaking past players like Rhea with relative ease. However, after Awakening Metavision, Isagi no longer limits himself to a wing and can extend this chemical reaction inwards, allowing for him to use the entire width of the pitch to his advantage. The next chemical reaction is an advancement of the previous one, being a chemical reaction between Kurona, Isagi, and Noa, first shown in chapter 200 of the manga. This tri-chemical reaction stands at the pinnacle as the best confirmed chemical reaction in the entire series. Not only do you have the pre-existing Planet Hotline, but you you also throw the best striker in the world into that equation to handle the bigger threats, and you're basically untouchable. You see this chemical reaction happen in the match against Manshan City, where Isagi uses Noah to handle Kaiser and Chris Prince, the two biggest threats to his performance, leaving himself and Kurona to handle the rest of Manshan. This chemical reaction largely benefits from Noah aligning himself with Isagi and Kurona, allowing for them to play incredibly freely without worry of other major threats. And the last confirmed chemical reaction, which is unofficially coined by the community as Galactic Hotline, a chemical reaction between Kurona, Isagi, and Hiori, first shown in chapter 259 of the manga. While this chemical reaction is very similar to Planet Hotline, there are some slight changes. Due to Hiyori's passing ability being superior to Kurona's, he takes Kurona's original place in the chemical reaction. Kurona actively picks up the role of grabbing loose balls due to his great speed and sharp turning. He still continues to be an effective post player for Isagi, however the typical move is to send the ball to Hiyori for the final pass due to his incredible passing ability and use of metavision. And while this isn't confirmed, it's very likely that Kurona has formed chemical reactions with both Shido and Ryo, seen with them being on the same team in the second selection. You can speculate this by Ryo even acknowledging Kurona's improvement when they play against each other in the match against Manshan City. But as of right now, that was all of the abilities, chemical reactions, and playstyle of Kurona Ranze as of right now in the story. Now to begin, the first thing that we need to address is Gagamaru's playstyle. However, there is something unique about Gagamaru that makes this Arsenal video special. Unlike other players like Isagi, Niko, or Ryo, Gagamaru is the only player to drastically switch positions in the series, going from a striker to a goalkeeper. So Gagamaru's playstyle when relating to both positions are very different. Gagamaru's original playstyle, or his striker archetype, was the goal poacher. Goal poachers are forwards who wait in the 6-yard box or penalty areas for a cross, pass, or loose ball and try to pounce to score a goal. Poaching refers to the fact that they will often score a goal out of the slightest of opportunities, and these goal poachers usually play as center forwards or secondary strikers. Gagamaru's insane reflexes allow for him to catch those shots that wear off course at the last second. His flexibility also allows him to fire shots from uncomfortable and unlikely positions, which is what makes him dangerous as a forward player. We didn't get to see a lot of Gagamaru's offensive style because it was only really shown in the first selection, examples being his scorpion kick or him scoring off of Isagi's off-course shot. And then going into the second selection, we didn't get to see him until after it was completed. And even during the tryouts, his only real performance was intercepting a pass, however that's more of a defensive feat. However, his new player archetype, being the one that he's been utilizing ever since the U20 match, is the goalkeeper. Goalkeepers are responsible for blocking the ball during penalty kicks and getting the ball out of the area of the goal and to a player on their team further down the field. They often use a drop kick to get the ball as far away from their own goal as possible. The goalie is the only player that is allowed to touch the ball with their hands while on the field and during a game. There's nothing specific or unique about this archetype, it's simply just how the goalkeepers play. However, Gagamaru's weapons are what make him such a high quality goalkeeper. His natural height and flexibility allows for him to reach those far sides of the goal, allowing for him to save those shots that would usually score. Combined with his reflexes that let him act almost instantaneously, it makes it difficult to score on him so long as he's in a comfortable stance. But now that we've addressed both of his playstyles, let's take a look at Gagamaru's core weapons. Gagamaru's first core weapon is known as Spring-like Body, first shown in chapter 11 of the manga or episode 4 of the anime. Gagamaru's naturally long legs and excellent body control allow for him to adapt to nearly any pass or any play. He can propel his body forward, which he uses for all types of shots, tackles, and goal saves. Like Kuon's jumping power, Gagamaru's spring-like body can push him upwards, however his specialty allows his body to propel him forward or in any horizontal direction. We see Gagamaru use this specific weapon to propel his body forward to headbutt the ball during the Team Y match. His next core weapon is called Explosive Reaction, first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. With his natural physical disposition, Gagamaru can react to the ball quickly and without any wasted movement to perform last-second headers and goal saves. One of his greatest feats with his reaction speed is him being able to stop an awakened Burū in the match against Ubers. Despite him failing to stop the shot the first time, he was able to deduce the strategy when it came to Burū's new shooting, which eventually led him to catching the stealth kill shot. And for his final core weapon, it's known as Flexibility, first shown in chapter 26 of the manga or episode 8 of the anime. With complete control over his body and limbs, Gagamaru can expertly move and twist his limbs so that he can easily react to the ball and perform last-second plays. We see Gagamaru use this flexibility to shoot with scorpion kicks as well as block insanely powerful shots from incoming strikers. Before getting into Gagamaru's core weapons, if you are enjoying the video, leave a like down below and subscribe to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this. The first branch technique is called Super Reflexivity, branching off from his Explosive Reactions weapon, first shown in chapter 115 of the manga. Super Reflexivity allows for Gagamaru to sense the ball's travel course and immediately move to intercept it. This was most clearly shown in the U20 match, where he was able to launch from one side of the goal to the other to deflect Sendo's shot. His next technique is called Ultra Reflexivity, branching off from his Explosive Reactions weapon, first shown in chapter 225 of the manga. Under the pressure of a close-range, high-powered shot, Gagamaru focuses and uses his explosive reaction speed to jump to the other side of the goal to intercept the ball. This was done to intercept Bado's powerful stealth kill shot and is easily the most impressive feat of his reaction time, seeing as he had to time a shot in which he couldn't see coming. Aside from those two, the only other branch technique that Gagamaru currently possesses is the scorpion kick like I mentioned previously, branching off from his flexibility weapon, first shown in chapter 30 of the manga or episode 9 of the anime. Gagamaru's unique style of scorpion kick is one that's very difficult to perform in real life. To perform one successfully, a player must throw themselves to the floor and thrust their body forward. They should then place two hands on the ground and sharply flick both heels up behind their heads to make contact with the ball. However, with Gagamaru, he's able to do this in midair just by propelling his body upwards with his feet and retaining control of his center of gravity. This shot had the potential to score if not for Zantetsu blazing in to block its path before it could reach the net. And because Gagamaru has played goalkeeper for a significant portion of the series, he doesn't have a lot of chemical reactions. However, he does have one confirmed one, that being the Wild Duo Instinct Kill Counter, a chemical reaction between Gagamaru and Bachida, first shown in chapter 26 of the manga or episode 8 of the anime. This chemical reaction relies heavily on the quick dropping arch pass and Gagamaru's explosive reaction time. Bachida provides Gagamaru with a high arching pass that drops suddenly. This fakes out the defensive line into pushing farther in preparation for the pass to fall. Gagamaru then rapidly performs a unique kick that throws off the timing of the keeper, allowing for a high scoring probability. We saw this chemical reaction take place in the first selection, making it the only confirmed chemical reaction that Gagamaru has participated in the entire series. But with that, those were the abilities, weapons, and playstyles of King Gagamaru as of right now in the series. And those were all of the Arsenal videos that I've made as of late. I hope you guys did enjoy the video and will stay tuned for my next one. And like always, thank you all for watching, like and subscribe to see more awesome BLUELOCK content just like this.